Good morning. So my story starts a long time ago, back in the 1970s. Go back in your time machine. I know half of your students, right? Seems so old. 1970s, back in the time before the internet, or before iPhones, back before Snapchat or selfies. I know, it's hard to believe. And my story starts with this woman, my mom. It's not a talk about her hair, although it's fabulous. I could do a whole talk about the hair. But it's about the kind of woman she was. She was a real activist. And I can remember when I was a tiny little girl, coming down, watching my mom sip a cup of coffee every morning as she cut out articles out of the newspaper, or Newsweek or Time. And she was writing letters to her congressman about issues that mattered to her. I can remember canvassing the neighborhood before I was even in kindergarten for the next presidential election. I can remember my mom fighting for the Equal Rights Amendment for women. And I can remember protesting the Vietnam War before I even knew where Vietnam was. That was the kind of family I grew up in. That was the kind of woman my mom was. She was out to make a difference and out to have her voice be heard. Now, the interesting thing, so for context of where I grew up in a tiny little town of 2,000, one stoplight, middle of the U.S., closest movie theater was 80 miles away. That's 140 kilometers for you guys. Yeah, no cable TV either, right? So this is unbelievable, right? So I grew up there, and it was a super conservative town. My mom did not fit in, right? She was a feminist and an activist in this conservative little town. She didn't really care. She was out to stand up for what she believed in, out to make a difference, and out to have her voice be heard. And she taught my brothers and sisters and I to do the same thing. Now, my mom's activism went way beyond the political sphere. If I picked up a phone and called one of my brothers or sisters right now, we would all have a good laugh about my mom's boycotts. Because my mom was famous for boycotting. We were always boycotting something, right, as children. So I remember, I'm 7 or 8 years old, right? And a new brand of tennis shoes that will not go named, a new brand of tennis shoes has come out, and everybody has them in our town of 2,000, except for us. Because they were made in sweatshops in China, and so we couldn't wear them. So I have to go to school in my lame, dorky shoes. My friends all have the cool shoes. I'm on the recess playground explaining to them about these issues that are happening in Asia. You have to understand, how can you wear these shoes? I remember we couldn't eat our favorite chocolate bars because of some issue with apartheid in South Africa halfway around the world. And I can remember one Thanksgiving coming downstairs, and there's no orange juice on the kitchen table. And I was like, what's going on? I said, Mom, where's the orange juice? And she said, oh, we're not drinking that brand of orange juice anymore. And I said, why? And she said, it's a gay rights issue. And I was like 8, and I said, what's a gay rights issue? And my mom said, I'll tell you when you're older, just drink the milk. I was like, all right. So that was my first experience with conscious consumerism, and that's what I'm here to talk about today. When I talk about conscious consumerism, I mean being very, very mindful about the kinds of products we buy, the kinds of brands we choose to buy, and the companies that we buy from. And here's why it's important. Because we, as women, absolutely and unequivocally control the power of the purse. 3/4 of all purchases on the planet are made by women. 3/4 of all purchases are made by women. We control $20 trillion in consumer spending each and every year. That is a massive power. It's a massive power that we carry. And we have the opportunity, and I say to you today, actually, the responsibility to wield that purchase power, to be more conscious consumers, and wield that purchase power in a way that we reward companies and brands that are standing for our beliefs and values, and to hold accountable those who don't. That's the power of our purse. Now, I moved here a couple of years ago from the US, and when I was in the US, I led a company founded by women for women, a marketing company. And then when I moved here to Canada 2 years ago, I founded the same kind of company. It's an amazing company. And as part of our launch, we did this massive quantitative study amongst women, exploring the brands they love and the brands they loathe. And it was really, really interesting. I'm going to share just a couple of findings with you today. So first, we found that 4 out of 5 women said that they would be willing to pay more for goods or services from companies that had really strong corporate social responsibility. And that's great. It's great that we're all tuning in, being more mindful, being conscious consumers, right? But here's where I think it's really important. We, as women, are 3 times more likely than our male counterparts to actually consider a company's ethics before buying from them. I'm going to say that again. We as women are 3 times more likely than our male counterparts to consider a company's ethics. And that's why we have to wield the power of our purse. It was super interesting in our study. We asked women to talk to us about the brands and companies that they really loved, that they admired. And we got a list of all kinds of companies. This is just a couple. We had a big list, women telling us why. And I'm just going to give you a couple off the top of my head that came up over and over and over. First of all, the Body Shop. You know the Body Shop, right? Founded in 1976, very strong on animal rights issues, very strong against animal testing, strong on their human rights beliefs, sustainability, way before this was like cool and everyone was talking about it. Back in 1976, they were doing the right thing. We heard about Tom's shoes. Probably some people are wearing Tom's shoes today, so I wish I was. Tom's shoes, who since their founding put forth their one-for-one philosophy, right? Where they have sold 10 million pairs of shoes and given away another 10 million more to people in need. We heard about L'Oreal, who is known worldwide to be one of the best companies for women to work for. And we heard about Google, whose new Made with Code initiative, they've pledged $50 million to get girls and young women involved in careers in computer science. So I think that's super cool. Kind of companies that we need to get behind as women, show our support, use our power of our purse to show them that we're supporting. Because we have the ability as women to be disruptors in society and disruptors in economy simply by spending more mindfully. Now, in our study, we also explored the brands that women hate or loathe, which I loved. I got kind of obsessed by this part of the topic. And I found that, oh God, you can do a Facebook post or get in a chat with a girlfriend, and you very quickly find out the list of companies that are on her do not buy from list, right? She's very vocal about it. And in fact, in our study, we found that women were able to express as many as 10 companies that they were officially boycotting, or as I think we need to call it after today, girl-cotting. Why is it called boycotting? We're the ones with the power, right? So we're the ones they're not speaking up, we're speaking up. So let's call it girl-cotting. That's what it is, right? So what I say to you is I'm just going to pause for a moment and say, how mindful are you of the companies and brands you buy from? How much do you know? How much do you think about it? How much do you go to that super cheap discount retailer but you know that they're sourcing their goods elsewhere to keep it so cheap? How mindful will you be, and what will you do after you leave today and go tomorrow shopping, maybe thinking a little bit differently about what you do? Now, one of the things I get asked a lot when I talk about this conversation is, but one person, what can I really do, right? Well, my mom thought we were going to change the world from our kitchen table in a town of 2,000. So I think you get the picture from that. But I say that every action starts with one person. One person starts everything. And I have an example that I love about Starbucks. And I think Starbucks is a great company. In fact, they're a sponsor today. Starbucks does a lot of great things. They're strong on sustainability. They're strong on fair trade. They're strong in their communities. But here's what happened. After the Sandy Hook shootings back in 2012 that left 20 children dead in Newtown, Connecticut, a small group of moms came together and said, no more, we're done. We need to do something about gun violence. And so they banded together, they created a little advocacy group, and they decided that they were going to take on giant corporations and try to make a difference. Now, Starbucks, for all the good things that they do, still allowed guns to be carried into their cafes and into their stores. Just like so many American retailers, this is very common, right? So they set out, these moms said, we're going to put our target on Starbucks and hit them where it counts in their $4 skim non-fat lattes. I think that's right, I don't drink coffee. So they started a grassroots boycott across social media, and they called it Skip Starbucks Saturday. And they asked moms and families and friends to skip Starbucks, start boycotting, and try to hit them where it hurt. Started to gain momentum on social media, started to get talked about more, started to get some press, started to get talked about on the news shows, got an article in the USA Today. And as a result of those few moms coming together, Starbucks changed their policy, went from skip Starbucks Saturday to celebrate Starbucks, when the CEO of Starbucks came out and made a formal announcement nationwide that guns would no longer be allowed in their cafes. That is the power of our purse. By just a few people, and then a few people more, and then a few people more doing the right thing. There are so many things that we need to change in this world. There are global warming issues. There are sustainability issues. There are workers' rights issues, women's rights issues, food safety issues, animal rights issues, the list, geopolitical issues. The list goes on and on and on. And the reality is that governments cannot legislate all of this. It has to be companies who stand up to do the right thing, and it has to be us as consumers, and us as women, the most powerful consumers on the planet, that hold those companies accountable. And that's the power of our purse, and that's why we must become conscious consumers. So I started off talking about my mom, and I'm going to finish up talking about my daughter. She's here today, Annie. She's 12. And we were driving home from school a couple of months ago, and I remember driving in the car, and she says, "Mom, we need to talk." Now, if you're a mother or a parent, these are like the 4 worst words you can ever hear, right? Like, fear immediately goes through. You're like, oh my God, what is happening? We'll move, new name, I don't know, So she says, we need to talk, so I'm driving. I steel myself. Okay. And she said, I want to become a vegetarian effective immediately. Well, I'm like, okay, I can deal with this, right? Like, all right. She said, I want to become a vegetarian immediately. She said, Cow farts and burps, they project carbon monoxide, and it's destroying our atmosphere, Mom. We have to do something about it. She said, moreover, in this giant dissertation, moreover, I refuse to eat another living animal ever again. All right, I support this. This is cool, right? But I had no idea how quickly this was going to impact us as a family, right? Because immediately, no longer can we drive through McDonald's on the way to soccer games. Sunday night steak dinners, totally gone. And our whole family of 4, including my carnivore son, are like, what is happening, right? And our whole eating behavior changed. It was this really cool thing. And I thought, wow, she is being a conscious consumer. We're thinking more about what we're putting in our bodies. So I saw conscious consumerism pass from mother to daughter, and then back again. So I tell you, embrace the power of your purse, embrace conscious consumerism, be more mindful. Small changes can make a difference. And thank you very much.